meeting to order. It's 6 o'clock. We will declare a quorum. Could you bring the paper forward? We're going to stand. If everyone could stand, we'll lead. Mr. Dunn is going to lead us in prayer, and then Mr. Reinhardt will lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, we just come to you tonight. Father, just thankful for so many blessings that you've given us. Father, we just thank for this time of year. Lord, we acknowledge there's a lot going on in our community and our district, and Father, we just ask that we might feel your presence, that we might be sensitive to those that need an extra word or hug or just an extra prayer. Father, we just lift up those folks to you tonight. Father, we just pray tonight that the work that we have to do, Lord, that we would feel your direction. Father, thank you for those that have traveled here to be with us tonight. Just pray that you'd give traveling mercies after the meeting's over for them to return home. Father, we just thank you for all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor to the nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
I will note Mr. Atkins is joining us virtually, so he is here as well.
I am here.
There you go. At this time, we'll have audience with individuals for general comments. Individuals wishing to speak must have signed up beforehand, and we have a number of them that have. Some policies and procedures for audience with individuals. Actually, Mr. Reinhardt will speak as timekeeper. For those who are requesting to speak, comments are limited to a maximum of 5 minutes per speaker, with a maximum of 30 minutes total allotted for public comment. Delegations of more than 5 shall appoint a representative to present their views before the board. The board will not entertain negative comments on individual personnel, students in public session. Patrons are encouraged to use appropriate campus and administrative channels before bringing concerns to the attention of the board, and board members are not allowed to deliberate, discuss, or make decisions regarding any subject not included on the agenda. Tonight we have 5. The first one is Ms. Talitha Broussard.
Good evening. I don't know the proper protocol, so I'm just going to start speaking. I don't know who I'm supposed to address, so I'm just going to talk to all of y'all. Okay, so I grew up in this area. I graduated from SUNY in '96, so I'm very familiar with the culture down here. I've never had an issue like this before. I've never had to deal with it myself, nor I've never seen it happen in such magnitude like it's happening right now. My son was assaulted November the 8th at Brothers Wood High School in the 9th grade cafeteria, one of the bathrooms. There's a video of it. It was put on Snapchat. He did not defend himself. He did not fight back. He turned against the wall. This young man hit him 20 times, 11 times in the head. My son has diagnosed PTSD and anxiety. You do not understand how furious I am. You do not understand how heartbroken I am to watch my son go from being a confident, intelligent, he just could take care of everything that he had going on, mentally, emotionally, physically, and now to see him, he tries to act like all is well, but I know all is not well because of how he interacts with me now. I understand that whenever he comes home and gets in my bed, he sleeps under my bed. When he's not under my bed, when he is not around me, he can't sleep at night. He tries to go to bed at 9 o'clock, won't fall asleep until 12, wakes up at 3:45 and can't function throughout the day. He has to take naps. He still has a concussion. He has rib contusion, and I have not heard nothing from nobody about this. I understand. I am very grateful. I'm glad that the public, the school, has rallied around Cole Hagan because he deserves it and he needs it, but my son deserves it and needs it as well, and I ain't heard nothing from nobody. And I think it's wrong. I think it's unfair. This young man that did this He went to juvie for 4 days. He got out, made a Snapchat about how he was just gonna get 6 months probation. He was in there for 4 days, and he got picked at the lighthouse. But my son had to deal with this. I've been told he's being offered counseling. He's a young man. He's been offered counseling. He's been offered therapy to figure out what's going on with him. What's going on with my baby? Has anybody offered anything to mine? No. Nobody has said a word to me. I have reached out to the district. I have reached out to the school. I don't have no response from anybody. And I don't understand how the justice system works and how the age of a suspect would cause y'all to handle the situation differently and how y'all handle that person. But being a victim, having trauma, don't age. So the fact that my 14-year-old son is in the same type of trauma that's going on with Cole and his perpetrator, the person that he's dealing with is 17, makes no difference with how you should handle the victim of a situation. My son is a victim, and nobody said nothing about him. My son is the one that has to go through this, and nobody said anything about that. And the services that's being offered are not offered to mine. The situation, the consolation, the public support, we're going to press it to the full extent of the law. What that's that for Logan? I don't see it at all, nowhere. No retaliation, none of that stuff. I don't see that nowhere. He can't come back to school, but y'all give this other young man stipulations on how he can get back. But my son still has to deal with that every single day, all day long. He go to school, he come home, and he talks to me about how he's affected, how he's not affected, how he's numb, how he don't feel like he has the support. He know he has my support. He know he has my mother's support. He know he has my immediate family. But the people that's supposed to be around him protecting him, the school is negligent in my opinion. It's just my opinion. The school, if you're able to say at this campus, your son, we're responsible for your child, we'll do this, that, and the third, and it's not done, that's a problem. And then, on top of all that, let me just say this as well. On December the 1st, there was a special investigator that questioned my son without my knowledge, without my presence, without anything, and he recorded him. How do you, is it ever legal to question a minor without their parents or without a legal representation? I don't think so. I've asked. I'm trying to figure out in what capacity this could take place and it not be a problem. I don't understand how you could, as a parent, just thinking about your child being, I have a video, y'all have a video, I don't know who's seen it, but there's a video that's been floating around showing my son not defending himself, and this situation has gone unchecked. And I don't like it. I want something to be done about it. And I asked the assistant principal who brought it to me, at what point, what kind of damage threshold do you have to have in order to defend yourself? At what point do I get hit enough times where I can fight back? And there are other kids that fight back and then get in trouble for it. But the ones that actually do the damage don't have nothing. They have a minimal consequence. And you can't punish the victim of a situation, especially when they're a minor and they're in charge. Y'all are in charge of the school board, the school district, the school itself, the principals. There's no monitors. There was kids around that door, the bathroom door, just watching. They were huddled in there. There was two vantage points of the video. So where was the monitors? Where was the people that were supposed to be protecting these kids? There's other situations that go on. Was that my time?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead and finish.
Okay. There was other situations that were going on that are not being addressed. That is my concern. I think that my son deserves justice, not just because I don't know what reasons the school would support Cole, which they should, but not support Logan. Especially when he was in the same situation, the same circumstance. He got caught off guard, somebody tried to set him up, and then he gets dealt the same situation, the same type of assault. And his trauma is not answered for. He has to deal with this too. This baby is fighting for his life in the hospital, but my baby fighting for his life at the house. And nobody's seeing that, and nobody's talking about it. And that's a problem. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you. Ms. Laura, I don't know if it's a C or G.
It's a
Guajardo?
G.
G. Guajardo.
It's a G. I also don't like to speak in public, but I'm here in support of all the mothers of the injustices that are being done at BISD. And I'm here because my child, Misael Rodriguez, this voice. My child is a 4-year-old, who at the time when I brought him for his first day of school, he was nonverbal at the time. We've been working with him, and with the grace of God, my child is speaking. My child, Misael Rodriguez, was physically assaulted on campus by staff member at Madge Griffith on April the 19th of 2021. He was also robbed of the opportunity to learn with his peers in a public school setting and all the special needs programs that they offer. His first day of school, BISD staff and admin made it clear to us, our family, that they did not and will not provide a safe environment for our children to learn. Being that my child has a diagnosis of autism, he would really benefit from the programs that y'all offer here at the school. It was the worst days of her life, and it's a mama's worst fear, especially a special needs mama's worst fear, to send your son to school that cannot speak and someone lay their hands on him and for him not to tell you what's wrong. My child was given back to me shaking and bruised up. I went in there. The school knows me. I have other children that have gone there. This was not his teacher. This was the teacher that was filling in for him, but she's a special needs teacher there. Her name is... When I went in there, I asked to speak to the nurse. I said, what happened to my child?
Please don't say any names. This is not a time to do that. I apologize. I want you to tell your story, but don't use any names. Please don't use any names. We don't want to disparage anybody's character that's not here, so that's not our intent.
Okay. She stated, I talked to the AP there. The AP was more worried about his feelings than my child's safety, because he was saying that she said that he was brought in to them like that in the morning. I have pictures with timelines of his first day of school, and his hands and everything was fine. He was not bruised. I have pictures of that. I showed all that proof when I came in here to the administration, to the HR lady, to the people who are in charge of the HR. At the time, my husband replied, no, that's a lie. We did not bring our child bruised here to school. And the AP was more worried about his feelings, saying if we were going to call him a liar, that this conversation ends right now. With no regards for my child or what happened to him, he was just getting, walk out the door. After I stated that I had pictures, she changed her story to say he was banging on the door. I took him to his pediatrician. Her story didn't match the bruising. He was diagnosed with physical assault. After that, they sent us, this was on a Monday, after that they sent us to the Children's Hospital. We waited 12 hours there until all the investigations, and they even called CPS. My doctor called CPS on the school to investigate. So there were several investigations being done. After that, from the doctor's office, we were sent to this hospital because they felt like he needed x-rays. That's how much the injuries. And they felt like he was restrained or he was stepped on. I was contacted. I posted it on Facebook. I didn't want to. I was contacted by other staff members of the same school who said that they had seen her, and there was reports that it had been the same thing. So to me, we went through so much, and instead of getting the support from BISD administration, everything was handled the wrong way. I brought proof. I brought a diagnosis. I brought pictures. I spoke to police. There was reports of the same incident being done. I spoke to the TA. She was supposed to be here. She's an advocate for special needs children. I just feel like there needs to be a change. People need to be retrained, removed, or fired. If you can't do your job, don't be here. These children need to be safe. They need to be in a safe environment. All of these mamas here deserve for their children to be safe. My child is at home safe, but he cannot get the programs that our taxpayers pay to offer for our children. My child doesn't get to get all this. He has to have private therapy. Come to my home in order for him to have that. He doesn't get to enjoy the Christmas parties. He doesn't get to do any of that. and all the trauma that we went through because people are not being held accountable for their actions. It is not okay, and there needs to be a change. And I'm not here, like, I emailed.
So it's 5 minutes. So we appreciate that. If you could wrap it up.
Finish your thought.
Yeah, finish your thought.
Okay. What I want is I want change being made. I want people retrained. I want my son's case looked over again because I never got nothing, ever got a response from it. I wasn't told if the person was fired. I wasn't told if they were retrained. I wasn't told if they were even, I was not contacted that my child was hurt. All of these protocols that were supposed to be followed were not followed. An excuse that was given to me was, oh, she didn't have your number. So things like that. So I feel like as mothers, we deserve to have our children in a safe environment to be able to learn without them being bullied, without them being physically assaulted. And if things happen, because things are going to happen, that y'all take action. My child life matters. Even if he can't tell you what happened, I am his voice.
Okay, thank you. All right, next up, Ms. Kara Russell.
Hi, my name is Tara. So I just want to clear a couple things first about the context of what I'm going to say today. Regardless of the unfathomable assault that occurred for Cole, I still would be here tonight. My family and I, so it's me, my husband, and we have 4 children. We moved here to Texas from Maine a week and a half before Hurricane Harvey. We ended up renting a home in Katy, ISD for a year. Our oldest attended James E. Taylor High School there. Our second daughter attended Nottingham Country Elementary. Our 2 youngest had not started school yet. We were unable to find a house to buy here, so that's why we rented there. We then bought a home here in August of 2018. My daughter, our oldest daughter, entered Brazoswood High School her sophomore year. She overwhelmingly just had, a pretty typical first year at a new school, although there was nonstop reporting of fights, so videos on Snapchat, Instagram pages, you name it, coming home, saying, yeah, this girl is fighting again, showing videos, like despicable videos, like I couldn't even stomach watching it. People being thrown into the concrete floor, teachers saying, girls, stop, no one getting in between, no one stopping it. So it's really unsettling to see. We come from a rural town in Maine, so about 3,500 kids in an entire district, so coming to both Katy and here we knew to expect some differences, but we had never, ever in the entire, even in my generation of schooling, had ever seen such physical altercations and the amount of physical altercations and it being glorified. We continue into her junior year. By December, we pulled her from public school. We had had enough of what we were seeing, and it was something that we didn't want her to be a part of, so we put her in an online academy. Her senior year, which was last year, she begged to go back in person. October 2nd, so not even 2 months into the school year, I got a call from the AP that an incident had occurred. I get into the meeting, both the other student and my daughter were walking from a classroom outside of the main campus, walking into the classroom, and they were swarmed and jumped by 4 girls, 3 of which were on the softball team. So as I get in there, he said there was enough video statements and witnesses that they were able to proceed forward with the investigation as well as discipline. To my knowledge, according to the 2.5 pages of preventative security measures, you have 800 cameras spread across the district. There are 2 cameras that were available at the area where the jump occurred, and the AP said, unfortunately, one of them that gives the clearest view of everything is blocked by an overhang. So, I mean, you would think that would be something you would be paying attention to. There was a camera inside pointing to the entrance of the door, so there was, again, they were able to gather enough information to proceed forward. This was at the end of the week on a Friday. Over the weekend, my daughter continued to receive threats via text and video, even though she attempted to block. It was being passed through multiple other people. They knew where she worked. She was receiving threats that they were going to show up at her work. Two of the girls did and circled the store, the perimeter of the store, twice. My husband, we did not receive any contact until October 14th. The incident happened on October 2nd. At that time, I had asked for a follow-up. I was looking for a meeting with Mr. Massey and other administration to find out, as the threats and everything was continuing, what our options were. At that point, we were told that they were still in the process of gathering, and that they couldn't go into discussion about the punishment was for the other children. And then I think it was a few days later, my daughter had attended a football game, I believe. And at 7 p.m., I emailed Mr. Massey and the AP because another girl had approached her physically face-to-face at the game. Miss Rita did somehow get alerted immediately and did pull Kayla aside. But so that was just kind of our first personal experience with what's happening and what everyone else here is talking about. And then our next daughter is at 8th grade at LJI, and I kept her home, I think it was the week of November 6th. Because there was 5 to 6 fights a day that week. LJI has a fight Instagram page. They have hosts of LJI page. Videos of Rasco students on bus, a male and a female girl literally physically just beating the crap out of each other, and you can see the bus driver in the video sitting in her seat. So I have complete empathy for all of you here. Mr. Massey, he's a blessing to this district. The administration, the teachers, there are some really great people that are part of this school district. I know a lot of them personally. Our family has become friends with them, and they, I have children that have had really great experiences here, but my main intent, and I got caught up with talking about our first experience, but my main intent was coming to ask questions, then realizing I can't ask questions and get a response. So I think a main problem here and what would help some of these other families is your student code of conduct needs to be looked at. It needs to be revised and updated to what is going on with today's youth, with the cell phones, the social media, the nonstop fighting and physically harming. Your level 6 offenses, one of them is if someone harms or intends to harm a staff member, but harming a student is like a level 2.
Right.
And then you can take into consideration there's an interpretation in the language of your response to these levels. And I'll finish quickly. I know there's other people that need to speak. But offenses for which a student shall be placed in the Brazosport ISD disciplinary alternate education program. However, consideration shall be first given to self-defense, but then intent or lack of intent. With my daughter's case, the AP asked the girls if they had intent to harm, and they said no. And so that AP or whoever was part of that decision had the opportunity to make their own interpretation and take that person's word. And then my daughter continued to get tormented and tortured.
Okay. Thank you.
So I just, your student code of conduct needs to be revisited. These kids need to stop getting 10, 15, 20 chances, and there needs to be some consequences.
Thank you. Next up, Ms. Sandra Caracellis.
Well, I as well. No, I'm not a speaker. I don't like to stand up and speak, but backing up what everybody else is saying. My son was attacked, and apparently we found out that it was the same day, right after the fight of Ms. Moore's son. And so my son, He fought another student, November 8th. I was not notified until the following Monday, November 15th. The principal stated there was a video in which my son was there to engage in a fight. He was not there to engage in a fight. He was there to use the restroom. And so he was caught up there. He was given 3-day suspension, following up with the protocol and procedures of how things are handled. He was the one beat up. He was the one sent home with a bloody nose. And yet he got 35-day suspension. He got placed in DAP, fixing to December 14th. He will be dropped out of band, dropped out of construction. He received special services. He will be pulled out of those services. Is the punishment just? You know, he's never been in a fight, never fought, never. Yet, coming to find out that he got, 4 days juvenile? I mean, when is it going to stop? When are we going to get it right? What are we doing here? I know that as a parent, I handle my son at home. I do what's right. I teach him to do right. I never tell him, go in there and pick a fight. I never told him, go in there and beat somebody up, engage in it, take it into your own hands. No, never. But I am my son's voice as well. And I'm here to find out. I want to know, you know, when I talked to the principal, she said, it's the protocol. The district has adopted. Where in writing is it where it has adopted right away 35 days, 3-day suspension? How is that fair? If I look at the code of conduct, it says it's on a case-by-case basis. So how is this determined? Now, I was supposed to have an ARD meeting for my son, which I did have an ARD meeting. That procedure was followed well. I have no complaints about his teachers. His teachers are wonderful, amazing. They've worked with him. They've worked with him. I mean, I can't say anything about them. I'm talking about how it was handled. You know, it's just, there's no words. There's no, you know, my son, and I didn't have the courage to watch the video. I today set up a meeting and watched the video today. This happened November 8th. I didn't want to watch it. I didn't want to see my son just get beat up. And when I looked at the video, the way the principal set it up was, he was there, like I said, to fight. And when I look at the video, my son is stepping backwards. He put his hands up. Yes, he was, you know, knocking out the punches, but he was stepping backwards. At no point in time was he going forward to hit him. And so there were kids standing by the door watching. So you're telling me that you're following proper procedures and protocols for my son, yet where are you? Because it was right after his fight. 2 fights. One right after another. There was kids watching through the door. They were there waiting. And so when I saw the video today and I said, you know, I asked her, I said, honestly, you know, I don't tell my kids, you know, throw back, fight back, you know, but defend yourself, you know, like we say, how many hits, how many blows do you have to take before you say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna stand up and fight? How many? And so I'm furious, I'm frustrated, you know, like I said, he's being dropped out of activities that will motivate him to keep coming to school, to keep doing what he's supposed to. I mean, when are we going to get answers about how that is going to be handled? My son is being punished for being in a fight. Well, when is the people that are employees going to be punished for not doing their job correctly? And obviously they were not. If there was 2 fights one right after another, then there's something wrong here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and Ms. Victoria Green.
Good afternoon, everyone. I grew up here, also graduated Wood 2004. I've never experienced any racial discrimination myself. My daughter is the one that had to fight at LJI on November 4th. My daughter is a straight A student, GT student, perfect attendance. She did not like missing school. She's an absolute amazing daughter, but an athlete as well. In school and out of school, she plays select softball. She's never been in trouble a day of her life. We do not condone fighting in our home, but we do say in a process to defend yourself. My issue is the bullying. 2 weeks before that fight happened, the other young lady had been bullying my daughter, calling her names because she told her, calling her names, called her N-word, and my daughter reported it to the teacher. The teacher told him, y'all stop, go sit down. And then my daughter proceeded to send an email to the counselor, and the teacher asked, what are you doing? And she said, I'm emailing the counselor. She walked over, seeing what my daughter was typing. She said, I did not say that. She told her to delete the email and then rewrite it and let me see it before you send it. My daughter did as she told. She reached out to the adult, the teacher. I said, you're at school. Tell your teacher if you have an issue. I'm not there with you. She did that. 11/4, the young lady pushed my daughter coming out of athletics, and my daughter tried to let it stroll off because she's not an altercation person. Because she had basketball. She was trying off the basketball, and she let it go. She was trying to let it go. The young lady ran off after that, and after saying some words. Getting after they left athletics, she ended up in the same prime time after the announcement came over. She ended up in the same prime time as this individual, and this individual was taunting her, telling her, you know, your parents shouldn't have had you, you shouldn't have been born, all these other things, and it was taunting her. And as my mom used to say, you can kick a dog for so long before it bites back. And my daughter had enough, and she ended up leaving out of that class. From a teacher sent for her to come out of that class because she had enough. And after the bell rings, my daughter did go up and hit her. And like I said, I do not condone fighting, but everybody have a switch that can go off in them. And apparently that switch went off in my daughter. And I'm glad when that switch went off, my daughter didn't bring a gun to the school and kill nobody. I'm glad that when that switch went off, my daughter didn't go home and kill herself. So she had to fight. The fight happened. Apparently fight happened in school, and they said that she was apparently waiting. She was standing behind the column. You can say she was waiting, but you can also say that she can't. The video didn't have no audio. But anyhow, like I said, the fight happened. I did not condone. I did not say my daughter should be punished. Should not be punished. Things need to be consistent. When one fight gets a week suspension and had blood coming out the nose, and the young girl did end up with stitches. Like I said, my daughter's rings, she had James David rings, and it's possible that it cut her eyebrow. Like I said, my daughter's never been in a fight. My daughter's not that type. She's not a bully. She apparently had enough. And like I say, unfortunately, that young girl did get stitches. And the parent didn't reach out to me. If she wanted the bill paid, fine. But December 3rd, my daughter was picked up unknowingly from the lighthouse. And, like I said, the first disciplinary issue, and my daughter was issued 35 days at the lighthouse. Never been in trouble a day in her life. And she gets 35 days in the lighthouse. What about ISS, in-school suspension, and this young girl is walking around in school? And like I said, once again, my daughter's a GT student, straight A student. She's doing, when she went to the lighthouse, she was like, Mom, we're doing 5th grade homework. We're doing stuff that I did in 5th grade. It's hindering my child. She's not even back in school. So like I said, December 3rd, my daughter was picked up, detained, because the parent filed charges against my daughter. We didn't even know anything. And we went to the juvenile detention center after they told us this. And they gave me 5 minutes to see my baby. We didn't know what was going on. They gave me 5 minutes, and all we can tell her was, baby, we love you. They even let us give her a hug for a minute, and she broke. My baby walked around that corner, and she felt weak in my arms. Do you know how it feels to be helpless as a parent? until Monday, yesterday, is when I seen my child. And I'm gonna close it out. Picture us all as parents. Picture you are paralyzed from the neck down. And you're standing here, your child is crying and screaming for help, getting screwed over by the school, the administrators, everyone. And there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing you can do about it. And for us, I guess as African American people, you can't scream too loud or they're gonna cut your tongue out your mouth. My thing is, things should be consistent, and I'm still waiting for my baby to come home. I know she got in a fight. I didn't condone her fight, but she was defending herself. She got tired. My baby is still in detention since she's been there. She's been crying herself to sleep, and I know it's messing with her mentally. My baby is not at home. And nobody looked at the fight. Nobody looked at what led up to the fight. Nobody looked at that. They just looked at the fight that happened. My daughter is not a monster, and she would not do that to no individual. My kid would give the shirt off of their back, both of them girls, and I raised them with respect.
Thank you. I think that's all that's signed up. Appreciate y'all coming tonight. We hear everything, and as always, we continue to have meetings about all sorts of subjects. The next item that we have is executive session. Executive session can be called for purposes permitted by the Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code 551.071 through 551.146. 5A, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney, Section 551.071 on the agenda item, Section 551.072, purpose of discussing and purchase, exchange, lease, value of property, Section 551.074, personnel matters, appointment, employment evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, dismissal, and complaints, Section 551.074, superintendent appraisal measure, Section 551.082, for the purpose of considering discipline of public school child or complaint or charge against personnel. We will return shortly after executive session. From executive session, the time is 9:08 p.m. We'll now, for public hearing, item number 7, public hearing, we'll now ask Ms. Rebecca Kelly to conduct a public hearing to discuss the redistricting for board single-member districts. This is a public hearing, so audience participation is invited at the conclusion of the presentation.
All right, good evening. Tonight, it is my pleasure to conduct a public hearing on the redistricting for single-member board districts. This is a public hearing, so at the end, we welcome and encourage participation from the audience. No. Tonight, we'll recap the census data, the change analysis, review the redistricting criteria, and discuss the proposed map that has been posted to our website, as well as introduce a proposed alternate to ensure that we do not create a retrogression among the single-member districts 2 and 4. While our Board of Trustees makes governance decisions based on what is best for the entire Brazosport ISD, board members are elected to their positions based on single-member districts. Brazosport ISD has 7 single-member districts that must be evaluated every 10 years with the federal census population data. The Texas Education Code Section 11.052I requires a school district to redivide single-member districts if the census data indicates that the population of the most populous district exceeds the population of the least populous district by more than 10%. The district has engaged legal representation and the professional services of a demographer to aid in the redistricting process. At the October 11th board meeting, our attorney and demographer presented the change analysis between the 2010 and 2020 census reports with the total population differential between the most and least populous districts at 48.6%. So at that point, Brazosport ISD is legally required to redistrict. Redistricting must be completed by February 6th, which is 90 days before the May 7th election. While we legally have until February 6th, the first day to apply for a place on the ballot is January 19th. So we have set a timeline to ensure proposed maps meet the redistricting criteria that will allow ample opportunity and time for public comments and questions, but that also can be finalized prior to the first day for a place to file, for on the ballot. Here's a closer look at the timeline. In anticipation of the process, the district engaged with legal counsel and a demographer, and when we received the census information in late September, we began to evaluate that data and the process. On October 11th, we had the first board meeting to present a legal overview and the demographic change analysis. Then on October 25th, the board met again to discuss the redistricting criteria and review some preliminary maps that would bring the variance below the 10% threshold. Based on redistricting criteria, additional maps were drawn and reviewed by legal counsel, the demographer, and district administration, as well as presented to the board. On November 15th, the board met again to consider a single proposed map and authorize administration to post that map and information to the district website, and then scheduled the public hearing for this evening. The proposed map was then further reviewed by a statistician from Rice University that could not substantiate or support the retrogression of the Hispanic voting age population or the citizens voting age population that put single-member District 2 below the 50% threshold. Therefore, we have a new map that we will introduce this evening. We will review in detail and then replace the current proposed map on the district website to allow for additional public input and review. And then the board will take action Monday night on those maps to finalize. We will take additional public comment on Monday evening as well as adopt the proposed maps and the criteria used for redistricting. And then again, the first day to file for a place on the ballot for the May election will be January 19th. So this is, for your reference, a copy of the current single-member district. You also have a copy at your table. The census group measures 3 population groups: total population, voting age population, and citizens voting age population. Brazos-Port ISD has added 1,174 people from the 2010 to 2020 census data. The district population is now 61,924 people. Before redistricting, the total population differential, as stated earlier, is now 48.6%. Before redistricting, the most populous SMD remains SMD, and then before redistricting, the least populous district changed from SMD4 in 2010 to now SMD2 in 2020. And again, redistricting is required. The map that is being proposed as an alternate equalizes the population by reducing the total deviation between the least and the largest district to under the 10% variance. The proposed maps includes contiguous and more identifiable natural boundaries that keep neighborhoods and city boundaries better aligned, and that also avoid retrogression of minority voting rights, especially in single-member District 2 and 4. The current map is on the left, and the proposed map that had been posted to our website is on the right. The proposed map retained District 4 as an opportunity district with the Hispanic voting age and the citizens voting age at greater than 60%, but District SMD2 decreased below 50%. After additional consultation with our attorney, we will introduce a new map that avoids the retrogression. So this is now, on the left-hand side, the current map versus the proposed alternate map that we will post to our website tomorrow morning with additional clarification of the boundary changes. You can see that we were able to retain some of the natural boundary cleanup between single-member District 1 and 7, also between 3 and 6 and 5. And so we were able to accomplish and consider, all available redistricting criteria, again, placing an emphasis on changing District 4 as minimally as possible to ensure that the voting power within the Hispanic population continues to produce, as well as ensure District 2 stays over 50% for voting age population. This is a summary of all of that in numbers. The blue numbers represent the maps from 2010 that show District 4 being the least populous and District 5 being the most populous, and at that point, that variance was 9.7%. And then in 2020, based on these proposed alternate maps, the least populous district would be District 4, and the most populous would be 1, but the variance is 8.6%. And then the numbers in yellow down below kind of show for single-member District 2 and 4, which were the areas we were reviewing to ensure the opportunity for the minority Hispanic voters does remain over 50% for voting age population for single-member District 2, does fall slightly below for citizens voting age population at 46%. However, keeping those boundaries the same, as well as ensuring the integrity of District 4 and that voting power at that level, and keeping for as least amount of change as possible, while also trying to increase the population, because it was a low populated district, and maintaining the 60% threshold for both voting age population and citizen voting age population. So this time I will be happy to answer any questions. This is a public hearing, so I welcome and encourage participation from the audience. And I thank the Board of Trustees for their time this evening.
Appreciate it. Are there any comments from the public?
I think we're good.
Any board questions or concerns after seeing the new map?
That was a proper response.
I think Liz has a couple questions.
No, we already did.
Oh, okay. All right, hearing none, we will now close the public hearing at 9:18. Our next regularly scheduled board meeting is scheduled for December 13th at 6 p.m.
Just to get some clean underwear and a blanket.
Yeah. We'll be right back here in a few days. So, thanks for everybody's hard work, and as we get ready for the holiday season here. Let's finish strong.
Ms. Kelly, thank you.
Hearing, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. Reinhardt, second by Liz. Meeting is adjourned at 9:18 p.m. Also